Hey, Super Cat. Sorry, I just got done sending out all my going live messages. We are doing layout today. At least 2 days a week. At least currently, I do layout for different projects. Today is the day I put for EOG or Eldritch Osiris Games, which is a writing group, a workers co-op that I am part of. And we do like projects where we work with other people and help them get published and stuff in the Pathfinder spaces. So today I'm working more on the OriginPath, which is sort of concisely a narratively driven character building guide for 2e. It helps you build a character via scenarios. And it's in a little bit of a roughish shape at the moment, but I still haven't finished inputting all the data and doing the basic layout. So it's going to be rough until then. You get to see a lot of sausage making, so to speak, with this. How are you doing? I need my actual document. Origin. Oh, wrong window. Origin. Playing Tetris. That's nice. I haven't played Tetris in a long time. I really wanted to play the Tetris effect, but I never could get it. Game's expensive. Oh, this hurts my eyes. Can I have dark mode, please? Thank you. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, I'm basically doing data input right now. We're currently at page 32, approximately. There's actually a few pre-pages that are incomplete, but so maybe about page 30 or 29 is more accurate in terms of content pages. Where was I? Leshies. Okay, so we got to the feats. And so you'll see a lot of copy and pasting and relatively minor editing. Because that is just the more efficient way to do this as far as I am capable of. Oh, the ad break thing changed. It's at the top now. That's weird. Hey, Ozzy. How are you? I don't know if you can hear me or not. It says there's an ad playing. I'll say hi again after if you don't respond. Doing fine. Okay, cool. You can hear me. Ozzy, say hi to Supercat. Supercat has already said hi to Ozzy. I legitimately did not expect to have any viewers today because Paizo is live with Gen Con. So thanks for coming in, y'all. Let's see, we've got in challenge type, physical attack. I just read Reddit wrap-ups. That's fair. That's what I do if I even go that far. Some of the stuff, like, might run the Starfinder playtest for someone. Yeah, I want to get it and look at it because a friend of mine that I haven't played with for forever, and he doesn't play 2E, like Pathfinder 2E, he plays Starfinder, is finally intrigued in a 2E adjacent thing. So I wanna grab it and get a look at it. But a lot of times whoops. Can I collapse this, please? There we go. That makes it easier. A lot of times I just either look at the wrap-ups, look at people's individual highlights of a thing, or I just don't do anything because some of the stuff I actually have access to early through Eldritch Osiris Games because we're what's it called? Infinite Masters. But that only kind of pertains to books that are coming out soon, so it's not going to apply to like things that they're exclusively releasing, like this playtest, or things that they're announcing. So like we have not gotten the playtest early or anything like that. And like, I think every time Paizo is ever live with something big, I am universally either at work or otherwise working. So this changes nothing. Enter mode, skill check. Oh wait, did I put it? What was the? Give me that sidebar again. See. Skill check. The only one that's pluralized is flat checks. The rest are not. Okay. Physical attack, skill check. We've got 2 encounters here. She lures next. But I'm very interested to see how they've since the what are they called, field tests came out, if they've changed anything. Because like I guess the thing I'm most interested in is range combat balance. I have ideas personally, because I do want like personally to integrate the 2 systems. Because I prefer sci fantasy overall. And I tend to think of fantasy settings as sci-fantasy anyway, ultimately. Especially Pathfinder and Galarian because of Numeria and weird timey-wimey shit, and the fact that there are just aliens out there that are already advanced, they're just far away. Make Iron Gods way easier to run? Yeah, most definitely. But honestly, I know it's kind of stupid, but the thing I'm most interested to see if it stays the same or if they've changed it is multiple arms. And because I love Kasatha. They were my favorite ancestry in 1E. I loved playing Kasatha, and having multiple arms was fun. Fleshy superstition. Oops. Oh yeah, I bet they'll have special feats. They mentioned, I think, that Kasatha would have special feats for like changing their arms more efficiently or something. But the base mechanic, because they just had a generalized little paragraph about how multiple arms work, and I'm wondering if it's staying the same, basically, or if they've updated it. Because if you were here on Tuesday, I think Super Cat was, but I don't think you were, Ozzy. Okay, see you in a bit, Ozzy. Yeah, it was, I baked multiple arms into a feat for an ancestry, just because technically Starfinder 2 is not Pathfinder 2, so I just codified it within the feat. But I tweaked a few things because it became evident that it might be extraordinarily powerful, just because the only thing it limited were attacks. Like, you could only have 2 active hands at a time, but the only thing that really mattered for was making attacks. So it basically didn't prevent you from using held items, or spells, or even like grapple and stuff, which may be intentional. Maybe it's just very powerful, and that's fair. But I did give it a little bit of a limiter just to play it safe. Oops, that's seed pods. Saving throw. Oh, what a pretty clean lineup right there. A shame it'll probably change later. One of the hardest things with doing layout like this is not doing all the work as you go along. Like, you would think you should do all the work as you go along, right? But because I have to worry about breaks like this and such, and whether or not these are going to run together later, it can all change, and the further up you make edits, the more it changes further down. So I have to just be very careful. Did I just... I think I did, yeah. But that works out, so I just swapped them. Yeah, that's fine. And then we do this. And if we need it to break, we just break it. So put this down here. Superstition. I accidentally got rid of the leshy part. Oh, I see why. Hold on. Seed pod. Seed pod's a really nice feat. I enjoy seed pod in a very similar way to the laser eyes that the automaton gets. Do you have trouble with both? Oh, I'm in the wrong section. Do you have a problem with oars often? I also read that as boats. It's thinking, oh, why do we have trouble with boats? I'm guessing that my brain is a little short-circuited today. Physical attack. What's your high score in Tetris, Super Cat? Whenever you have a second, of course. I'm glad you asked. You were bursting at the seams to talk about your high score. I was just thinking of telling you the story of how I got it. Yeah, go ahead. Give me a minute. All right, go ahead. No worries. I thankfully do not have to have my brain super turned on for this part of this part of the work. So it's I can keep looking at chat and chatting and stuff. Keeps things pretty simple. Okay, so we have movement and skill check. And then this is exploration. Good. That really a skill check for, I guess it's a skill check for the rabbit. Undaunted. Good, Anakin. Good. Now kill him. Wait, why is there a right side indent? Where's my paragraph? Yeah, there's a... I mean, I guess it's for indicating some pocketing, but why don't these have them? I don't know. I'll worry about that later. Okay, so that's the end of the Leshy. And so we actually disconnect these. And now we're gonna do orcs. Orcs. Okay, that doesn't count below. Okay, so it doesn't have the little swirly. So my dad wanted to check out my new OLED switch and to test it. We played a little Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. He went first and managed to get super close to my, at the time, high score of 60k. So when it was my turn, I locked it and played like I've never played before. I managed to get 90k, 384 points. I have no idea how I did it because now I can only reach about 70k before I start freaking out because of the speed. My dad told me he was genuinely proud of me. Oh yeah, like I've had similar like weird lock-in moments in games where I just overperformed my normal skill level by a lot and have never been able to replicate it. Like that's weird focus, and it happens sometimes. And it's nice to have now and then. But yeah, not being able to beat your own high score is a mixed bag of good and like, well, damn. But like, there was a time when I was speed running Final Fantasy 1 for a charity, and like trying to beat my own time got that way. Like, I think my best time was just shy of 2 hours. Which is nowhere near like an actual good time, but it was good for me. And do you enjoy the test going to and like sorry, my brain just short-circuited because something was missing. Challenge type. There we go. Movement and defense. And like, it's really fun to sort of go against yourself and get PBs, or personal bests if you're not. You shouldn't just drop acronyms on people. It's fine. I know how hard it is to talk and focus on something else at the same time. Yeah. And I'm not that great at it. To begin with, I have. If you may have heard me rant before about, or not rant, but talk before about how the whole reason I do this is to trick my ADHD into making me work. Because the streaming is effectively body doubling and very much similar to the pressure of a deadline, without actually causing me the severe stress and panic of an actual deadline that can occur when I have not gotten enough of the work done. I have in the past stayed up for 3 days in a row working on something that I had 2 weeks to work on, because I kept putting it off. and I do not miss doing that. It was not fun. I was pretty miserable. And thusly, welcome back, Ozzy. I'm trying to remember. There was something I wanted to ask you about because I thought it was kind of funny more than anything. But okay, here is Shadow of the Wild. You're chased by a warren of wild rabbits and you run home to safety while still throwing them off the tracks. The challenge type is skill check, but it's the rabbits doing the skill check. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a problem. Let me see something right quick. I think I have an idea. It might. Oh, where's skill check? Somewhere. Character DC. This would probably do better as a character DC entry, because they are survival to track you against your, what is it, stealth DC? Or is it I forget what cover tracks is. It's either stealth or survival. Cover tracks. PF2e. And unless I'm in the wrong section looking here, which I may be. Hold on. Nope, character DC is in the challenge types, so that would make sense to me. So you cover moving half your travel speed, attempt a survival check to cover your tracks. Anyone tracking you must succeed a survival check against your survival DC if it's higher than normal DC to track. So you have a category for it. Okay, let's change that to I just said the words character DC. Oop. Where am I typing? Nowhere, apparently. Okay. Character DC. Different challenge. Yeah, that's fair. I've done that, like, just been working through an idea and you just keep having to go back and add stuff. Absolutely. The rabbits roll their survival skill against your survival DC to use the track action to try and follow you. But anyone here? If it is higher than the normal DC to track, your survival skill against your survival DC. Try and follow you. If it is higher than the normal DC to track, you think that's a concise enough? Or should I leave out that last bit? I think that's okay. Which, by the way, Super Cat, Ozzy is the original writer. I think it would be Shadow of the Wilds allows you to... Okay. Haha, I can just copy paste that. Right. I'll try to follow you. And the weird rule about parentheses. Fair enough. I guess I'm prone to stating the obvious at times. It goes right alongside my tendency to over-explain things. Scroll back down to orcs. Orc. Oh, wait. I forgot the name. Did I even finish the other one? Battle Ready Orc. I didn't change the name. Or the Leshy checks against aggressive rabbits, but I changed it to boar, as there is an actual enemy statted by Paizo, but no rabbit enemy. Yeah. There was I mean, you could easily reflavor giant rats and swarm of rats as bunnies. Like that's one of the easier ones that I think, oh yeah, you just reskin them, take away the disease, and maybe give them a hop ability or something, or up their speed and take away their swim. That would be pretty simple. They still bite. Counter, roll intimidation. Okay, so that one's done. Hold the new. Yeah, that's fair. Deep orc. It's getting deep, man. Yeah. I think that's also kind of a reason that I over-explain things, because I have that feeling all the time, and I don't like I don't trust myself well enough to run on my suspicions and expect them to be correct. So I prefer to. Oh, I've forgotten something again, have I not? No, I'm just brain bugging. Okay. Is it skill check and movement? You usually get the actual stat block you need. Yeah. By the way, there is a sort of a bunny monster. They're called Al Mirage. And they are nasty little bastards. They're a bunny, but they have a unicorn horn, and they like to gore things. I don't know if they actually like to gore things, but I remember the 1E art very much, and it's just this like white bunny with these big bug eyes and blood everywhere. So it stands out in my memory. Exploration, but this one is encounter. Here's an undead rabbit. I forgot about that. That was from Book of the Dead, I think, right? Where's the source? There's the source. Yep, Book of the Dead. Oh, he has a little bow tie. Maybe the bow tie is made of meat. Yeah, Archives of Nethys. No. The archives tells you what book it's from. There's a source. It's just normally it's near the very top of the page, but for creatures, it's right under their trait. I forget that sometimes. But yeah, archives is great. I never used archives when I was playing 1E because D20 PFSRD felt better to use. Characters life chronologically. I'll let y'all chat without distracting y'all too much. Alright, do this. Grave ore. I misread that for a second. I thought like an evil god casts the harm spell on you as punishment. I'm like, okay, you're dead. Dead. It's a cleric did it. You get to play through your newborn. Oh, it's the opening of Fallout 3. This is just defense. I'm not the only one that spells defense wrong all the time. I also use a C, like impulsively when I write defense. This is actually the document that's helping me fix that problem, I hope. It's a neat system. I like, I think 2E has like a very light version of the idea, which is like narrative character building or whatever. 1E had a far more in-depth version, but it still amounted to like not actually playing through it. Like you were rolling a few things and stuff, and it was more for random generation instead of the experience. So I think this is a really good idea, especially for new players, people who want to use level 0, old, scarred, stuff like that. Yeah, deep backgrounds, that's what it's called. Like I gotta say, they snuck a lot of subsystems in that just like so many of them got like a lot more attention that like people forget that some of the ones still exist. Like for a long time after the original Game Mastery Guide came out, or I didn't know there was a leadership system. Like leadership was like one of these things I really liked in 1E. And they put it in, and it just got overshadowed by other stuff. So I didn't know it was there. So I was like, man, I really miss leadership. And they're like, it's right there. It's right there. It's one of the subsystems. Okay, I already did that part. You or someone else makes deep marks in your body. You 11 damage. Uncategorical. Does this be defense? I would think this would be defense, right? Living through a character's life up to the moment when they actually play with your party, you get a better sense of who they are and believe. Yeah. Like, that sort of thing is... excuse me. That sort of thing is really, really good for getting into character. And getting a feel for them before you have to actually sit down with everyone. Or not even sit down with everyone, but before you start the game in earnest, so to speak. Yeah. I think if it's okay with you, Ozzy, I'm gonna leave the challenge type on for Holdsguard as defense because it's HP and encounter for or I guess we can change this to downtime, maybe? Since it's making a tattoo, which is crafting. Or scarification, which counts as tattoos, as far as the system's concerned. Does that make sense to you? Alright. Oh. Gotta remember not to do that until later. That's the one little word hanging off the end. I really wanna do that and make it 2 words just so it looks better. But I have to remember that all this stuff is probably moving later. You get to a point where it gets somewhat impulsive to do stuff like that the moment you see it. Add pages. Made unbreakable goblin defense as well. Alright. Cool beans. Probably just dated myself or something saying cool beans. Oh, greetings, I'm old. How are you, fellow kids? I'm such a fucking idiot. Rainfall orc. Okay, so we got 2 encounters off this one. And it's a saving throw and movement. In reverse that order. Movement. Saving throw. Just gotta change that back to light. I just set up for me to clear 8 lines in a row, and then the line piece got caught in another piece and I lost. No! Rip, I suck at Tetris. I don't think I've ever gotten very high at all. In a recent playtest, an elf character crit failed their lore check in Magic and thought that they had a pretty standard Magic book. A long lost time from Old Mage Jitembe in their background. You got the nickname Young Mage Jitembe, which the player loved. Yeah, sorry, I made a lot of mistakes in the last paragraph. You're fine. I gave up on grammar a long time ago. I know the feeling. I kind of, within the realms of my dumb brain's power, I have to know a bit because I also do editing. But I realized something the other day, and it's like, I would be shit at editing a novel. Just utterly crap at it. Because I don't know the correct grammatical and structural context of like dialogue. But I know Pathfinder 2e mechanics and general structure. Yeah. Woo. I just use a plugin to correct it for me. Yeah. Like the thing, like I think I do well enough for 2e's design structure, even for non-mechanical stuff, because it's mostly about, one, they have a very particular design style, and it's easy enough to replicate by paying attention. It's not overly complicated. And then the main thing after that is information flow. Like, sometimes you have to do it, but like a big thing about info flow is don't name drop things unless you've mentioned them before or explained them before. Or if you're going to name drop something, put the explanation very close by so it's easy to find. There was one thing I was working on a while back where there was like important information to like a class or something. I honestly can't remember what it was. I just remember having to rearrange it a lot. Because like the explanation of an important piece of a feature that you got at like level 1 was all sandwiched into like 3 different things across like 10 levels. And it's just like, we need to front load this information, and then these ones back here can be shorter and just reference back to that. And yeah, that means you have some information early on that's a little bit useless for a while, but you have that information. So info flow, excuse me. So info flow is important. And like I said, sometimes it's somewhat unavoidable, and you'll see that actually in almost every class, because their subclasses effectively get mentioned very early, and then you actually go read those specifically later. But it kind of sets you up for that. It's just like, it doesn't worry about it too hard for that. I have a problem with typing where I press buttons in the wrong order, so cat becomes addict. Yeah, I do this a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've typed Pathfinder instead of Pathfinder. I don't understand why character creation is in front of the character options in 2e and other D&D rule sets. That is an info flow sort of thing that's about modular socketing. So you give your broader points before your specific points. So instead of going, here's all your options, now here's how you use them, it's here's how to use the options, which you will find in this following section. So it's what do they call it? A primer, effectively. So that is something that's sort of an exception to that complaint I just had, where it's just like, oh, you put the cart before the horses, basically. Primers are sort of like hitching your horse. Whether it's in front or behind, you kind of need the horse. But they don't want to also, like, some of that information will not be relevant immediately, but you don't want to split that information up necessarily. You want it to be correlated so it's easy to find. Oops, I closed, or I didn't close it, I tabbed off or clicked off. Winter Orc. It's 1, how to make a character. 2, hundreds of players of character options. And 3, how to play the game. Yeah, how to play the game should be near the front. That's fair. I could see it go either way, personally, just because there is a danger of front loading too much information before you give the consumer something. So by doing it, how to make a character and then shit tons of character options. 1, you keep the info flow relevant by going, here's how to make a character, here's what you need to make the character, and then here's how to play the game. Whereas if you lead with how to play the game, they've got to go, how to play the game, now how do I make my character, now here's all this stuff. And they don't get any sort of interaction from the media until step 3. So if they can get interaction from the media at step 2 and then go back to just absorbing at step 3, it's more interactive. And that's gonna not go well with some people and it's gonna go better with others. But I think on average, people tend to prefer to interact with things as early as possible. And so the smaller portion of how to create a character is simple enough that you can just front load that, throw that out there, and somebody can go, ooh, I'm gonna make a character. And they can make a character, and then they have some investment in not only maybe they don't fully understand what they're choosing because they don't know how to play the game properly, but they can look at what they've built and then look more at the parts of how to play the game that pertain to that. Which I think is kind of on purpose, because you know how like people complain, oh, there's too many options in PF2e, it's overwhelming. I think that that's actually meant to counteract that in terms of learning the rules, because you don't need to learn about things that don't pertain to your character that much. And it's easier to gloss over options than it is rules. But that's also just my take on it, my opinion. I don't think that's necessarily objectively the best game design. I don't think it's the worst. And I don't know if that's the intention or not. It could just be, well, it's got to be in some order. This is the one we chose, which is entirely valid as well. We got defense and skill checks and defense. Skill check, defense, or exploration. And like, I wouldn't necessarily take my advice on that either. I'm self-aware enough to know that I don't necessarily have opinions that line up with a lot of people. Like, I don't know if either of you know Dan plays games on Twitter or Blue Sky or Reddit or what have you. But he's somebody who I've worked with a fair bit and whose opinions I respect and enjoy reading. But they're from a very different perspective of mine. He understands the social and I guess the more personalized arguments and aspects that people go through over the game. Whereas I'm more concerned with how things interact in the game design itself, as opposed to how people necessarily perceive that game design. To some degree, I guess I sort of fit into like an apologist sort of thing, where like, instead of going, oh, this design is crap, I just try to fix it. Or find why it's good. Why it's good actually. Prefer to make the character first because then when I'm reading how to play, I can cross-check with my character stats and see how it works more practically instead of imagining it through it. Yeah, that's sort of what I was getting at. So yeah, that's a much more succinct and elegant way of putting it. See, I lack elegance. I'm just a dirty little pleb. Oh, it's encounter already. And it is a skill check. Yeah, I'm not an eloquent person. I'm not the best at talking. I'm trying to get better about that, and the stream, I hope, helps. But overall, like, I'm beast tamer. I'm not a very charismatic person. I'm a mechanics gremlin. I knock around in the engine and hiss when somebody opens it up and lets the light in. And I have a weird sense of humor sometimes. So if I make a weird joke and it doesn't hit, feel free to tell me. Iron Fist. You've challenged the toughness of another and they dare you to hit them as hard as you can to prove how resilient they are. Who did you challenge? Are they aware your fists can be classified as lethal weapons? Did you know I have a black belt? You can't disarm me. I am a lethal weapon. I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of the thing. It's just it calls to mind so many memes. Or not even memes, just tropes, I guess. I'm sure there's memes about like the whole my body is a weapon thing, but oh no, not the bulb, you. Or ferocity. Add pages D, I think. Yes. Oh, wait. Something strange has happened. I've done a fucky wucky. Here, I'll add a page from here and make it the left one. I'm glad you got a chuckle out of it. That was the goal. Some of the scenarios we come up with should be goofy. Yeah. Like, I think it's absolutely fine and good to be serious a lot of the time with roleplay, but at the same time, especially just given how games tend to run, it's fine to be goofy and to have fun with it. Not every game has to be really serious. I remember a lot of my early games being absolutely unhinged and very, very cringy and fucked up in hindsight shit. But there was still fucking it was having fun with friends, and that's what mattered. Well, this one gets 4 bullet points. Encounter. I do like the remaster update to lore feat, where instead of just, oh, you're also just trained in this lore, that you get the general feat that makes it auto scale, so that you don't have to burn skill ups into it. I was really happy with that change to the remaster. I mean, in general, we've gotten a lot of little buffs in the remaster. Like, it, in theory, like, they were kind of strong because they gave you generally like 3 skills that trained. But I think that they didn't hit their mark because then those lures would usually fall off and not be relevant often enough. And then when they were there, they were kind of just like, oh, yeah, it would be, you should get 2 ancestry feats at first level. That's what Ancestral Paragon is for. Or I think it just means you get them twice as often, but still. It's not an unreasonable, like, one of the things that is a very easy sort of house rule to do is that, yeah, you just get more stuff. Because most of the time, barring like level 20, it does not hurt the game's balance all that much to just you know, have more feet. That's why, like, Nimble Elf and Natural Ambition are way stronger than some of the others. Nimble Elf technically isn't, but only because of how the other ones are worded. Nimble Elf is the one that does not say it doesn't stack, but every other single, as far as I know, speed booster feat says that it doesn't stack with other ancestral speed boosts, which is the only reason it's no stronger than them. I think they should have just added the line in the remaster. Yeah, you can, like, it can upset the balance a little bit because you can just get a character that's so broad or so good at things that they have something for every scenario, so you're not going to challenge them as much, but you're never really going to just break the game. It's just going to become sort of a Mary Sue-ish, but not like in terms of, oh, I'm basically a god. It's just like, I have everything that I need. Rogues do that anyway. Rogues do kind of do that anyway. I'm fond of rogues. I've played them a few times, and yeah, they get a lot. But like, even so, like, if you went to 1E and went, okay, I'm giving you every level 1 feat, you'd make a god basically for that level. Like, for one, because most of the like feats were not restricted by level, they were restricted by prerequisite. Yeah, stack. Which was fun. Like, it had its own fun. Like, the older, like, 3.x and 1e and stuff, they had a fun in the logistics of making something as strong as you could or making something as silly as you could. Like, I made a character that could just jump forever, and it was hilarious. Yeah, like, you don't even have to be that good at it. It's easy to do. It's only hard if you want to make quote unquote god tier builds. And it takes a GM with some experience to have a mixed party in that aspect. I ran a campaign that was actually a podcast for a while, but the podcast itself eventually kind of died because I lost a lot of the audio. But we had a very unbalanced party. We had a swashbuckler that had a 25% chance to crit and had a minimum damage of like 52. It was absurd, but at that point I already knew how to adjust for things like that. Kukris and Falcatas. No, he used a rapier. He probably could have been even worse with the right weapon, but like, we had a lot of fun, and he was really good in combat, but also as a player, he was incredibly good outside of combat. He was a great role player, and did a lot there. And so if he wanted to just be good at a fight, to get the next part that wasn't a fight, I wasn't mad about it. Super's tit ion, the weirdest ion. Superstition. I must not have gotten much sleep last night. Or, like, I know I slept, but my sleep can be crap sometimes. Like, I actually didn't switch to 2E right away. It took the promise of potentially winning money for me to get into 2E. Because I initially got into the game by entering the roll for combat. What was it called? The Battles of Bestiary, the first one. And learning the monster design system, because up to that point I had been making a monster a week for over a year in 1E. And I really just enjoy creature design in general, regardless of system. And so I had looked at 2E and I was just like, I don't like all this. I don't like all this arbitration and all this unconnected stuff. Because that's what it looked like right off the bat, because they were like, okay, here's tables. But, you know, after being in the system for a while, I realized that there is connection. You just are not beholden to it in the way that you were in 1E. 1E was very beholden to the gearbox. Do you prefer PF1E simulation approach or the 2E tables now? The 2E tables, and a big reason why is it makes people better at making stuff for the system. Whereas the 1E system was really cool, and I loved how it interconnected and all the gears fit together and stuff. I even made a special spreadsheet to help me build creatures that would cover all like the niche stuff, like how size interacted with certain skills and speed interacted with certain skills. and stuff like that. And I really loved that sort of, I guess I couldn't ever put a title to it, so simulationist approach to design. And I really loved that. I did, and I still do. But as a designer, holy shit, is 2E much better. Let me put it, I made a creature a week in 1E, not because, what's the difference between 1E and 2E? A lot. So if you haven't played any Pathfinder, do you, as in vibes, have you played 5E and 3.5? It's a similar difference, except that not shitting on, okay, no, let me try and, okay, I'm gonna pause on this for a second because I can't focus on this and think this hard. Refuse to read a book. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. The vibes are similar, not quite the same in terms of difference. Like 3.5 and 1E are related. Yeah. So 2E is much more streamlined, much easier to learn. It does have a lot of options, but it's a trap to try and look at all of them right away. Yes, it is like there's still a lot of relationship. Like you can see certain roots and stuff that are related, and actually the irony is that 2E pulls a lot of inspiration from D&D 4E, because 4E had some good takes, which the irony being that PF2e was generated to split off from D&D because of 4E, mostly because of the way that they were changing the license rather than them not liking the system. But so 2E is very much more streamlined than 1E or 3.5. 3.5 is very granular, I guess you could say. It's not nearly as granular as like Fatal, or I think GURPS is, I've never played GURPS, but I've heard it's a very granular game. So there was one, PF1e also had a crap ton of options. So did 3.5 and 3.0. But the chassis are very different, and the streamlining is very different, and the power scaling is very different. 1E had, and 3.5, and I'm just going to call that group 3.x because they're all very similar in terms of their mechanical implications. There's definitely differences, but in overall game feel, they're similar. But they were very much built in a way that you could master them to break the game without a lot of trouble. And have that power fantasy, and it was really good. I've had a party of level 8 players kill a level 18 dragon that they were not in a particularly advantageous position to fight. Like a little bit, but not much. And like that's possible if you play the game well. Whereas in 2E, not so much. Like, is it technically possible on a statistical level? Yes. It is just astronomically improbable. Because it would have to roll 1s and you would have to roll 20s. And that's that. But 2E was made with a system that at first I really didn't like, and that's the proficiency by level system. But it didn't take me long to really start to like that, actually, because it allows you to feel like your power is ramping up considerably. Yeah. basically the swing in the system was huge. Also, low levels were called rocket tag for a reason. It was one. You could also, I'm sure you've heard horror stories about, oh, the boss got paralyzed and then just critted to death immediately, probably from 5e, just because those are popular videos and stories and stuff. That happened in older versions too. Yeah. Yeah, basically, high level was like, who could biggest damage, and low level was everyone's a squish, basically. Yeah. PF2e does have an answer to that though. That still remains balanced with proficiency without level, which flattens out the curve significantly. So you can still have creatures that are way too much, but then level +5 becomes not unreasonable. It's a hard fight because of how many more hit points the creature is going to have. Because that's one of the few things that doesn't change. But in terms of their statistics, they're a little higher. But it's not absurd. So generally, in the base game, no modification, if you put a level 5, a creature that is 5 levels higher than the party, your party is probably going to die. Unless you're, doing some sort of set piece or things where them directly interacting isn't the point. Or, they're just playing with them. They're not going to kill them. They're just like, look, you can't touch me. And like maybe they could roll really high and hit them, or maybe even crit, but they're not taking them out, reasonably speaking. And like if it's 5 levels below, they're basically a minion. Like they're going to die very quickly. The pseudo, like that kind of falls off at higher levels. So like if you're level 20 fighting a level 15, it's still got a lot of hit points. So like at that point, your spellcasters are more likely to be the ones squishing them rather than your marshals, at least in terms of speed, because your spellcasters at that point could cast like Finger of Death or what have you, things that are save or die, or that have critical failure death systems. And your marshals are less likely to, though they might have Vorpal. If they've got a Vorpal weapon, they can do it. But proficiency without level, I think, broadens the range that's reasonable from +4 -4 to +8 -8. It like doubles the range. Before even just the sort of static benefits of higher level and lower level creatures stop mattering. So like if you want to play a grittier game or just have easier access to more creatures, proficiency without level is a good option. But I think I got off topic. The 2e is balanced, and some people will say, oh, it's overbalanced. It's too concerned with balance. I don't think so. The core game has a baseline of balance. You can upset that. You just have to know how you're upsetting it. The core design philosophy is to not upset the balance too much. Yeah, I really love the action economy. A common complaint about it is actually addressed in the rules, where people are like, well, I want to move, hit somebody, and then move with the rest of my movement. And like, you can do that. It just becomes an activity, and you sync all your actions into the activity. And there are situations in which that's going to backfire. So there's a bit for the GM about arbitrating actions and activities, where can I do this is effectively how you start that. and you're like, okay, can I run and slice this guy and finish my movement over here? Or 2 actions instead of having to go, okay, I stride, I strike, I stride. Even though I don't necessarily want to stride my full stride away, or step. And you can. You would make it a 2-action activity that lets you stride and strike at some point along that stride. But one, if they AOO you or reactive strike you and disrupt you, that screws you over. Something else could mess up your entire activity, and GM discretion. And like, there's not much you can do about that. Every game is going to have some level of GM discretion to it. It's just a lot less than some systems and a lot more than others. And like a thing that a lot of people are doing, and I'm seeing some people put more eloquently an argument against, is that, oh, you shouldn't be able to do that because there's a feat that does it. Okay. Generally speaking, the feats either give you a bonus or they give you access to do something that couldn't be done, or they like normally, or they make it consistent and do not require some sort of check. So like, so they're either a buff, an unlock, or consistency. And so like, if you wanted to just like, okay, but because you're running and you don't have a feat for this, your attack will suffer a -1 circumstance penalty. Easy counterbalance. Or you suffer a -5 to your speed as you slow down to strike. Another simple thing. Like, but of course that is all up to GM discretion and how they feel like they want to balance it. But like, there's a lot of things that are under skill feats or even class feats. Like, can I do this? Yeah, but it's either going to have a higher DC, a DC period, like a check that you have to make, or it might cost more actions to do. But the big thing is that when you mush those things together into an activity, you dedicate all those actions to that activity, even if something messes them up. And that's the main counterbalance. So, like, let's say you want to charge across this field and strike a creature along the way as 3 actions because you need to move twice to do it anyway, to get to them. But if you did it the other way, you would end up right in front of them. And they can still make a reactive strike if they have that. But let's say you stumble into a trap and it stops your movement by 3 actions, you know? And like, that's sort of a big point of counterbalance, is that you are dedicating those actions to an activity that can get disrupted, that can get stopped, or that can be interrupted in some way. Like, if you didn't know that there was some sort of magical difficult terrain, focus up and get back to work. I don't want to accidentally distract you for too long. Yeah, you're good. That's a good point. I can rant for way too long. Hold my... resistant cast a spell on you. Boop. It's the fair point. Skill check and saving throws. Well, this one's got a lot. Yeah, I don't even know how long I was yapping. It's the most flavorful feat, but it had to strip the lore information out. Gotcha. Work weapon familiarity. Excuse me. I also sometimes start to go off whenever I talk about something I'm knowledgeable in. Yeah, I don't think the ADHD helps either. I often start running at the mouth. Message I have received. A spare HDMIs. Oh. Sorry. Oh, I selected too much. Select less. Boil. Alright. Push. Ish. Oh, I forgot to change the name. Weapon familiarity. Did I do it for this one? Yeah. But yeah, I guess going back to the root question in which I don't have to rent. I prefer 2E now. For a while I did prefer 1E, even after I'd started working in 2E. But it comes down to the fact that as a designer, I did find encounter. I did find that I enjoyed the freedom a bit better, which, like, honestly, I had kind of been like somebody that I knew that was into 5e, and I do not like 5e. It's just not my system. I used to be a lot more animus about it. I had a lot more animosity whenever people would try and talk to me about 5e. But like, it's just not for me. Was that, oh, you have so much more freedom to design in 5e. And ironically, I use the same argument for 2e. Sorry if this message sounded a little mean. I would listen to you talk for another hour, but I realized you're here to work, so I thought I'd remind you. No, I understand. You led with, you don't mean to be rude. Like, I know a lot of people will take that sort of thing as like subtext or whatever. I try not to. I try to assume that people aren't trying to be an asshole, because I'm paranoid enough as it is, like, and in real life, about people's intentions and whatnot. So I try my best to assume that people are not being shitty. So no, you're fine. But yeah, 2e has despite the fact that it seems more constrained because of all the tables and the relationship level and stuff. It's not more constrained in my opinion. There's actually a lot more freedom because in 1e it was, I guess, very simulationist. It had a very rigid mechanical structure and everything rooted back to some point or another. Which at times was frustrating when designing creatures and stuff. I think the thing I miss the most about 1e is the symmetry between creatures and players, but at the same time, I still very much appreciate the way that 2e handles it. Like with the NPC levels and stuff like that. Man, I wish I could just make these 3 lines fit up here. But everything's moving anyway. I need to move on with my neurotic ass. Add page. Add page left. All right. Let's see. We are on to the changeling. Oh, I forgot they got put into core, didn't they? I like the way that Pathfinder does changelings. As the offspring of hags. Instead of like, oh, they're maybe descendant from doppelgangers, but they're also not the same type of thing as doppelgangers and all that fun weirdness. Like, overall, I think I end up having like a lot of unpopular opinions about 2e. Like, I like familiars. I think they're good. But people love to shit on familiars for some reason. I guess because they're not that combat effective. But big shrug, they're very good at a lot of things. They're also just another source of checks to help. Oops. Brian May, not Brian May. Callow May. I actually don't know what callow means. Like, it makes me think of tallow, which is beef fat, but I don't think that's what it's relating to at all, unless it's otherwise somehow meant to indicate beefy. It's just a word I don't know. What does callow mean? Google callow. immature or inexperienced. Purell, naive, raw, green, unseasoned. Milk toast may much. Yeah, I'm an idiot. And I don't. I'm very self-deprecating, but don't feel like I actually hate myself or anything. It's just I've always been this way. It probably was because I disliked myself at some point, but and well, like I believe many people probably do, there are things I don't like about myself, but I'm not generally like super bad about it or anything. So if I call myself an idiot, I'm mostly joking. I'm mostly just commenting on the fact that I laughed at something dumb or something like that. All I can say is I'm enjoying working with you. Thank you. I'm enjoying working with you too. Having instant feedback is really nice. Speaking of hags, I make Pathfinder character on Pathbuilder to satiate my thirst for TTRPGs, so I made a change in character. She's this older human changeling who runs a magic item store. She came to terms with the fact that she won't be seen as a regular person in society, so she decided to live a quieter life near a city where she opened up shops. Her shop's doors to people who pass through the city and out of it. Hey. To write out so hags aren't relevant anymore. No, you're good. I can. My memory's bad. It's not quite that bad. Yeah, and one of the neat things I think is that more hags come into being because changelings join them. And so like you're sort of sequestered off and have accepted that you're not going to fit in, which opens you up to the possibility of the call. And you might go join their coven and eventually become a hag, which I think is really nice storytelling. Whether you go the darker route or choose the heroic path, regardless, it ultimately becomes a thing where wrong button. Where, you know, you're like, there's a reason people might be kind of, you know, iffy with you. But you might not fit in. And like, that's the thing too. Like, that's always been an issue with TTRPGs with monsters and pre-described systems within it. Hags don't have to be horrible people. I mean, I guess maybe night hags do, but they're gone anyway. Like, they can be nuanced. They can have good sides. In theory, you can just have good ones. It's just not likely. All right. I'm only going to be doing this for about 15 more minutes, Ozzy. So if I'm not here when you get back, I'm sorry. But feel free and take it easy. Slag me. But yeah, like, changelings have great built-in story beats to them, which can go completely ignored or can be leaned into heavily. And I think there's a lot that Paizo tries to do around that sort of concept of baking in the possibility for story into things. even if they don't like I hear a lot of people say that like you can't separate the game from the setting, and like I think you can. Like I've seen people say that, oh, Goblin's association with fire is, you know, so specific to the setting. I don't think so. Like you can have goblins that are associated with fire outside of the setting. Lamash too. Okay, sure. I'll give you that. Anything that has to do with like things that are also specific to the setting, like the gods and stuff, I'll give you that. But it's easy to reflavor too. And like if you want your goblins to be very different in your setting, just change them. It's not that hard, and you don't lose access to that many things. Goblins could be good with fire because they worship a fire deity or a sun deity, or just because they're more resistant to fire, so they play with it more and figure it out more. Like sometimes you can invert reasoning. They're not resistant to fire because they're always around it. They're always around it because they're resistant to fire, as an example. So like in terms of reflavoring or breaking away from setting, I've always found it rather easy. I don't think it's that hard. Changeling lore. Oops. Like I think it's mostly down because like those opinions are pretty common. So I think mostly it just comes down to I think about it differently. And maybe it's because I don't think about it too hard. I'm a very by the seat of my pants, very adaptive GM. I don't tend to do a crap ton of planning. And so it feels easy to me to just change something in a way that doesn't really affect how it works. It might affect the story, but I mean, the story is mutable to begin with. And I tend to lean on like what my players want for the flavor. Anyhow. Scroll up, but not too much. There we go. Oh, I remembered a point I was trying to make earlier that I got way off topic from. But like, Dan Talks Games is a person whose opinion I really respect and makes these long threads about like really prescient or prescient, however you say it. Conversations about the game and how it interacts with the people who play it and stuff. I'm very bad at that. generally speaking. I think part of it's because I'm maybe too laid back about my own interactions with the game and the community. But like, I wish I could do that. If only for the fact that I would feel smarter. But I'm not particularly well suited to those lines of thinking. So I just try to stick to design. It's something I do a little bit better. I think that's a more succinct version of the point I was trying to make earlier. If I even talked about it without getting too off topic. Because despite saying that my memory's not that bad, I have forgotten. And my memory is that bad. But it's selectively bad at times. If only I could be the one selecting, that would be wonderful. Man, my Tetris skills are really decreasing because it's getting late. Can't even get past 10K. If you need rest, get rest. Like, I really appreciate you being here, but if you're tired, like, take care of yourself. Is it Nephilim or Nephilim? Nephilim. Nephilim. No, I'm not going to sleep yet. It's just I've been playing Tetris nonstop since before you started streaming. That's fair. You're getting burned on it a little bit. No, that's the same message. Tetris burnout, yeah. I know that feeling. Like, sometimes when I'm doing, like, layout and stuff, like, I'll get there where every new line becomes a slog or something. Like, it doesn't usually happen with this sort of work that I'm doing right now, just because this is simple. It's entry work. But the later, the more fine-tuning stuff can get pretty rough at times. And some days I can just do it and do it and do it and do it. And some days it's just like I keep slowing down and, like, I guess I get a little aggravated doing it. Any practice is good practice, so I'll continue till you wrap up and then do something more brainless like YouTube or whatever. Yeah. Do you play competitively? Oops. Or are you trying to play competitively? Nephilim lineage feats. Nephilim. Did I skip the actual? Oh no, I'm dumb. Okay. I did this with the changelings too. Changeling lineages. Linear line rages. God damn it. Lineages. I'm just really addicted to the game, but not gonna lie, I've fantasized about being in tourneys. You could try your hand at it. Like much like speedrunning, I think it would be a community that is very open source in a way where you can learn a lot from the people around you, and they're not like particularly selfish in that matter. Seems like an interesting idea to participate in one, but I doubt I'll do any better than like the top tier players. That's fair. But also a lot of places have different like skill level brackets and more local stuff that you're not going to see a world class player come to. Where you can lineages, where you can sort of hone your skills. But I also haven't checked, but I doubt my country has any places like these. I don't know where you live, Supercat. And I'm not necessarily going to ask you either. I'm not trying to bludgeon in your business, and especially on the internet. Defense. But you can always check. I mean, even if nothing else, like you can go online and I throw up my hands on this one. I just put the challenge type as defense and put it as varies. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to you, Ozzy? But yeah, Supercat, see if you can even just like go online and see if there's anybody in your area that wants to hold one. Like nothing like with prize money or anything. But D&D only has a few clubs for that stuff and only in main cities. All other TTRPG are just completely not mentioned. I know that feeling. I live in the US, obviously, or I guess it's not necessarily obvious. I could live in Canada. But yeah, I live in the middle of nowhere and nobody else around here plays TTRPGs and they look at you funny if you mention them. So, huzzah for the internet. I actually haven't played 2E with anybody but my wife for a long time. Just because this needs to be light. Just because we don't have anyone nearby and scheduling is hard. I'm gonna go ahead and do Hellspawn, and then I need to wrap up so that I can do stuff before work. So this will be the last one for today. Oop. Hellspawn. Hellspawn. Hellswan. Oop, wrong slot. Yeah, if nothing else, like if you feel strongly about wanting something to happen, you can also try and make it happen yourself. Just, like pace yourself and don't get overly invested, I guess, so that you don't end up hurting yourself, or bringing yourself down. But like, give it a try. I mean, if nothing else, it just doesn't work out, and nothing has changed. Okay. Saved. Okay. All right. So that's all for today. The VOD will be up on YouTube sometime later. I try to push it immediately, but I think it takes a little while to process. I go in and open the RAID browser. Random fact. Let's see. God damn it. Every time somebody redeems random facts, my brain immediately goes to really gross shit. And that's maybe not appropriate. So, there are a type of shrimp called, it's not pistol shrimp, no, mantis shrimp that have eyes significantly more advanced than ours in terms of wavelength detection. They can detect, I think, 12 or 16 colors. I forget exactly. And we basically can't really conceive how things look to them. But they also have really shitty vision at the same time. Like, it's not very high resolution, I guess you could say. So they can see things like ultraviolet and infrared and maybe even and like bands of light that we can't see. So they see the world very differently from us, and it helps them hunt. They also have like the strongest punch in the animal kingdom, so powerful that when they hit things, it causes cavitation bubbles even at extreme depths. So basically, they have a literally explosive punch. And they use that to crack open things like clams and the like. So they'll punch them, and it sends a shockwave through the clam that stuns it and causes it to not be able to hold itself closed anymore, if not outright killing it. Similarly, there's I don't actually know how closely they're related. Almost done ancestry. For one, what did he? It's tangents. The pistol shrimp has. If you've ever seen the Pokemon that has it's like a Clawitzer or whatever, that's a pistol shrimp. They do a similar thing, except their little claw at the end of their big thing is very small, but it locks open and it snaps shut so fast and hard that it sends out a shockwave that can stun nearby fish without even touching them. And it, of course, is resistant to its own shockwave. It's built to resist its own shockwave. And then they go up and just grab the fish, which is not usually dead, and eats it. So there's your fun fact. I hope you didn't already know those. I got distracted from doing my raid. It's fine though. Don't feel bad about that. Stream manager. I didn't know them. Cool. It's also a reason that mantis shrimp are hard to contain, because they often shatter their fish tanks. They have to be kept in really thick really solidly built tanks. The only other Pathfinder up at the moment, I guess Paizo ended, or they're not under the Pathfinder tag or category, is Milk is Good Ma'am. So we're gonna go raid Milk is Good Ma'am. They're playing Pathfinder 2e. Thank you. I'll be streaming again tomorrow, doing layout on a different project on Sinclair's Codex. So if you want to pop in then, I'll be there. And that stream will probably be longer because I don't have to go into work as early tomorrow. But until next time, Supercat, Ozzy, I'll see y'all. Bye-bye.